So what other things I had?
Personal financial.
Developing financial responsibility and keeping accounts. As I said, maybe over about 80–90% of people don't keep any personal financial accounts, and
Well, the bank does it.
the bank does that, and so they really never get ahead. They're taught budgeting. If you've been taught budgeting, budgeting can be very difficult to do or very difficult to keep up, and budgeting keeps you poor. Budgeting doesn't help you lift off and really make money. It's just a way of seeing that creditors get paid by people budgeting to pay them. But there is another process, developing financial responsibility, and you keep personal accounts. So I'll write these up on the whiteboard for what sort of accounts you would keep. And you do this, I've done this since I was 14, I had a break of a few years at some points, and you do this and you write down on a spreadsheet. Any spreadsheet will do for this keeping of accounts, and in column A you put the date. So you put the date in the first column. In the second column you might put the item. In the third column you put from. I keep my computer switched on all the time, so it's easy just to go in and put any new expenses on there and write them in for the month. Put the date. Next column is the amount. So you put the amount of how much the item costs that you bought. If it's food, you don't divide it up, you just put collectively food. So some things you just put collective totals, so you don't do that. Next column, you can do a column for category if you'd like to categorise them. Categories for food, entertainment, travel, work-related, presents, gifts, entertainment. Next column is tax deductible. A little T, so it's tax deductible, so you can capture all your tax deductions, anything that's an expense incurred in the earning of assessable income can be tax deductible, so you put a little T in there for that expense. Do that for the month. Also, on the spreadsheet, you do all your incomes. So you write down date. If you're doing incomes, you do the date. From, the amount. It's a bit simpler, and you'll find when you're doing this each month there are going to be a lot more expenses than there are income items. There might be in the month 3 or 4 or 5 income items. If you've diversified and got a number of incomes coming from various small home businesses, you might get that up to 7, 8, 9 income items. But expenses might be about 30 expenses for the month, 40 expenses for the month. The idea is to write them down and admit them to yourself and not let yourself forget them, but to confront the fact that you are making these expenses. And some of them are going to be difficult to confront, to write them down. You'll find you might argue against yourself about doing this because you don't want to be reminded of these expenses. The brain is starting to go to work and confront these expenses. And after a while, the brain will, after a month or 2 or 3, the brain will go to work and try and work out how can you push down these expenses so there are less of them. You can look back over the past expenses and find they've been useless and money's been wasted and you spent them on silly things. So the brain goes to work to try to push down the expenses, and it goes to work to think, how can I push up the incomes as you're writing them down, because you want to write down more income figures because they make the income total bigger, and you want to make that expense figure at the end of the month lower and get a gap in between, which is the savings gap. The target over about 2 or 3 years is to get to the point when you are saving 50% of everything you earn, and that 50% is saved up because you're pushing down expenses, working out how to push up income by not spending money on needless things and working out other businesses and ideas to push up income. So you get a gap. And the idea is to get that to 50%. My savings rate is about 60% on a moving 12-month and moving 3-year figure. So that helps you become financially stable when you do moving averages on those totals for each month and totals for moving 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. It's a giant game. It turns the whole thing into a giant game fun spreadsheet. And you can do graphs and charts and things with it and turn it into a game. But the idea is to confront those expenses by writing them down and not being not responsible and just not confronting them and silly expenses like that. Any questions?
Yeah, I do a similar one for people who are having trouble with their money.
Yep.
I get them to write down everything they buy every day. And all of a sudden they see this pattern of they're going to the local shop and spending $2.50 to $3 for a can of Coke half a dozen times a day. Whereas they really want Coke that much, they can go to the supermarket and bring it home.
Mm.
And all of a sudden they start seeing these patterns as to where all their money's going.
They'll see patterns which they couldn't see before.
Yeah, that's right.
And when they write it down, you can start to get control over it.
Yeah.
Once you see it and you can see what's happening and you see those percentages and you do a total at the end of each month, a total of money earned, money spent, and you do a takeaway sum to find out what happened for the month. Are we ahead or behind for the month? Did we lose $100, $200, $300 for the month, which means financially we've just wasted a month and gone nowhere? Or did it go up by 500, so we're making progress? But you have to switch the light on, otherwise it's like walking around in a room in the dark, tripping over expenses that come along and you're not expecting them. When you're writing down all your expenses, you'll know when those bills are going to come in, you'll know to expect them, and you can factor them into your spending and work out, try and how to push those down as well. But you've got to confront it and write them down to get control over it. And about 80–90% of people don't do that. They don't have the discipline to write it down. But it's like a giant game on a spreadsheet and it's good fun.
Yeah.
Quite entertaining.
The trick is not how much you earn, it's how much you spend.
Yeah, push down those expenses and try and push up income.
Most people spend 110% of what they earn.
They get into debt.
Yeah.
Because the finance organisations and the banks don't teach you this stuff. They don't teach you any of this. They just want you to spend.
Yeah.
And the people get sucked in by that.
They give you a bank card, that's a bit of plastic, to buy shit you don't want, money you haven't got, to impress people you don't like.
That's it. Yeah, that sounds about right, too.
Good song around there.
Ready to throw it out next month.
Pair of scissors, but I won't cut anybody's card.
Well, that was the
I'll give them
beauty.
the scissors and sit there and say,
I have a website on that, and if you go to devfinrsp.org, which is in my email address, developing financial responsibility.org, you can read up more about this and see the charts and see the spreadsheet design to do all of this sort of thing. To be financially free so you're not stuck in a cycle that just goes on endlessly from which you can never escape without discipline.
Can we get your email address?
That email address is lawtherapy@dev, you mean the website address?
Yeah, give us a little.
lawtherapy@devfinresp.org.
Yeah.
And the phone number is Sydney 02-8214-8397,
Isn't it too far?
Could we slow down?
John,
John,
take
8214-8397, or mobile is 0419 605 365. Okay, thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you, David.
Class dismissed.
Yeah.